I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, typing out a story like this, but here I am. Maybe I need to get this out of my system or maybe just clear my head. Either way, I'll start from the beginning. My wife Lisa and I have been together for almost 10 years. We met in college, fell hard, and somehow managed to stay pretty solid through all the usual crap life throws at couples. She's 8 months pregnant now, and honestly, I was more than ready for our kid. We planned everything, or so I thought. She'd been doting on me, rubbing my shoulders after a long day, cooking my favorite meals. I felt like I had everything I ever wanted until I didn't. It started with small things that made me uncomfortable. She'd be out late, claiming she was with her mom or at a friend's house. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary at first, but the way she'd dodge my questions, the nervous glances she'd throw over her shoulder, those should have been red flags. I told myself I was overthinking it. She's stressed, pregnant, probably just tired. Still, I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling that something was off. Then came last night. I was cleaning up after dinner when I noticed her phone blinking with a new message. I usually don't pay much attention, but something told me to look. It was a text from Jake, my best friend. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about you all day." Nothing unusual on its own, but the way she hurriedly snatched her phone away and shoved it into her pocket made my stomach tight. I played it cool, of course. I didn't want to blow things out of proportion. Still, I kept watching her after that. She left the house around 9:30, claiming she was going to the store. I didn't buy it. She's pregnant. She doesn't go out that late unless she wants to hide something. I followed her, just a quick peek, nothing more. She drove to Jake's apartment, which was about 10 minutes away. I parked a few streets down, watching her get out of the car. She looked nervous, glancing around like she expected someone to see her. When she entered Jake's place, I saw her walk in, her silhouette through the window. They were sitting close on the couch, whispering. I couldn't hear, but I knew what I was seeing. My wife, my best friend, together behind my back. That moment everything shifted. My hands clenched into fists so tight I thought they'd bleed. My chest felt like it had caved in. I could feel the heat rushing through my face, and I had to fight the urge to burst inside right then and there. But I didn't. I just watched, the anger simmering beneath the surface. What the hell was I supposed to do? I'd trusted her with everything. And Jake, my best friend. How long had this been going on? Was I just blind, or had I been blind all along? I couldn't sleep last night, replaying that scene in my mind, the way she looked, the way she laughed with him. I've been thinking all day about what I'm going to do. I need a plan, a way to make her feel what she's done. I can't just walk away from this. I won't. I've got to make her understand that she's crossed a line, that she's betrayed everything we built. I need to be careful. This isn't just about cheating, it's about respect, loyalty, and trust. They're both going to regret messing with my life, I promise you that. I don't have all the pieces yet, but I know enough. And I know I'm not going to let this slide, not without making them regret it. So that's where I stand now. Watching, planning. Do I confront her directly? Or do I wait, gather more evidence? Either way, I know this isn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the rest of the day trying to keep my head straight, but it was damn near impossible. My stomach kept twisting, like I'd swallowed a knot that refused to loosen. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her on Jake's couch, leaning into him like they were the only two people in the world. The image wouldn't fade, no matter how much I blinked or tried to push it away. I kept going over everything I saw last night, her nervous glances, how she hurried inside, the way they looked at each other. My mind kept circling around the same question. How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months? Or was it just a recent thing? I didn't want to think about how deep this might run or how much I might have missed. By mid-afternoon, I decided I needed a plan. This wasn't just about catching her in the act anymore. It was about what came next. I couldn't just blow up and scream at her without knowing exactly what I was going to do. I needed proof, more than just a hunch or a sneaky peek. I needed something concrete. So I started setting up a little trap. I knew her phone was her weak spot, and I remembered she'd left it unattended earlier when she thought I wasn't looking. I made sure to get my hands on it while she was out. I wasn't proud of it, but I had to see what else she'd been hiding. I went through her messages, her photos, her call logs. The truth was right there in black and white, and what I saw nearly made me sick. There were texts, Flirty, intimate, downright disgusting messages exchanged with Jake. She was calling him baby, telling him she missed him, talking about how she couldn't wait to see him again. There were even pictures, nothing explicit but enough to make my stomach churn. A picture of her lying on the bed, texting him that she was feeling lonely. A selfie with her hair messy, eyes smoldering, all of it right in her phone, right in front of me. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My blood ran cold, then hot with rage. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I thought I knew her, thought I knew us. Turns out I barely knew her at all. I closed her phone slowly, my palms sweaty. The world around me blurred into background noise. All I could feel was this deep, burning betrayal. I had to get out of the house, clear my head. I grabbed my keys, left her phone on the table, and headed outside without a word. I drove around for a while, just trying to breathe. Every stoplight made my fists clench tighter. My mind kept circling the same thoughts. How could she do this? What am I supposed to do now? And the worst part, how do I look at her the same way again? When I finally got back home, she was sitting on the couch, nervously biting her nails. She looked up, her eyes darting around like she was expecting me to explode. I didn't say anything at first. Instead, I just stared at her, feeling like I'd been punched so many times I was numb. Then I spoke, voice low but steady. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out her phone and dropped it on the table between us. "All these messages, all these lies, how long has this been going on?" She bit her lip, trembling. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, really?" I snapped. "Because I saw everything. The texts, the photos, you lying to my face, sneaking around behind my back. How much more do I need to see before I know I can't trust you?" She looked like she wanted to say something, but words failed her. Instead, she just stared at her lap, tears pooling in her eyes. I felt cold, emptier than I'd ever been. I knew then that I couldn't just walk away from this. Not without doing something, something that would make her regret ever crossing me. I had no idea what that was yet, but I was about to find out. Whatever it took, she was going to pay for this betrayal. And I was going to make damn sure she knew I wasn't just going to quietly accept it. Next part. I didn't have a clear plan right away, but I knew I had to do something that would leave a mark. I wasn't just angry. I was furious, betrayed, and humiliated all at once. Sitting there, seeing her break down while I stood over her, I realized I needed to take control of this situation before she could spin some sob story or try to dodge the consequences. That night I spent hours researching ways to hit her where it hurts, without crossing into any criminal territory or going too far. I needed her to understand the depth of her betrayal, but I also needed to keep my dignity intact. Revenge, I decided, would be about exposing her lies, making her feel vulnerable, and hopefully making her regret she ever crossed me. The plan started to form in my mind. I'd set a trap, something subtle but effective. I knew I needed more evidence, and I also needed her to feel the loss of her sneaky little secret. The key was to make her realize I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. First, I created a fake email account. Nothing obvious, just enough to look legit. I used it to send her a message, pretending to be someone from an online dating site. I kept it vague but suggestive enough to pique her curiosity. I told her I was single, bored, and looking for someone to talk to. I wanted her to slip up, to reveal her guilt without realizing she was caught. The next morning, I left the email open on her laptop while she was distracted. I watched her from the corner of the room. Her eyes flicked across the screen and her face went pale when she saw the message. She hesitated, then nervously replied, "Who is this?" I didn't say a word, just waited to see what she'd do. She typed back, "Just someone looking for a little excitement. Guess I'm not the only one who's been hiding things." Her hands shook as she hit send and I saw the panic in her eyes. That was all I needed. I'd planted the seed. She was vulnerable now, exposed. I knew that if I played this right, she'd start to see the full picture of her own betrayal. But I also knew I couldn't confront her yet. Not until I was ready, until I had everything lined up perfectly. Later that day, I started turning up the heat. I went through her social media accounts. She'd been posting pictures, hiding her phone from me, but I found enough. I even made a few fake accounts to follow her, just to see if she'd slip up again. Every little glimpse into her secret life made my blood boil more. She'd been lying, sneaking around, and now I was finally getting a taste of how deep the deception went. That evening I sat her down again. She looked exhausted, like she'd been running from her own guilt. I kept my voice cold, steady. "You thought you could hide this forever, but I'm not the fool you took me for." She looked down, tears running down her cheeks. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just lonely, and Jake, he made me feel alive again. I swear I never wanted to hurt you." I laughed bitterly. "You think I believe that? You lied to me every day behind my back, and Jake, my best friend, you played me for a fool. Well, I've got one more thing for you." Next, I told her I'd called Jake earlier that day. His voice was calm, but I could hear the strain in his tone. I explained how I knew about everything, her messages, her secret meetings. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her lies, and I knew just how to do it. I told her I was going to meet with Jake in person, confront him about his betrayal, and I was going to do it in a way that left no doubt who was in charge. That was when I saw the horror seep into her eyes. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She knew I was about to make her see the damage she'd done. That night I went to Jake's place. I knocked on his door, already knowing I'd find him there. When he opened, I didn't waste time. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "We need to talk. And I want you to understand you crossed a line. If you think I'm just going to walk away, you're dead wrong." He looked surprised, maybe even a little nervous. "Hey man, I didn't mean." "Save it," I cut him off. "You've hurt me and I don't forgive easily. This isn't just about cheating, it's about loyalty, respect. And you lost both of those the moment you decided to get involved with my wife." He looked down, silent. I kept my voice sharp. "You two think you can hide behind your lies and sneaky meetings. Not anymore. I'm going to make sure you both regret ever crossing me." I left his place feeling the weight lift slightly, like I'd taken a step toward reclaiming whatever was left of my dignity. I knew this wasn't over, not yet. But I'd made sure she understood I was serious. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist. This was war. Next part. The next morning, I knew the clock was ticking. I'd laid my cards on the table last night, but I needed to follow through with precision. My goal was simple: make her feel the full impact of what she'd done without losing control. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, and I wasn't going to be some passive victim in this. I started by organizing everything. I had screenshots of her messages, the fake email exchange, the fake social media accounts I'd created. I printed out the most incriminating stuff, her texts, those photos, all of it. I wanted her to see face to face what I'd uncovered. I also spent some time setting up a new email account, this time to send her something she wouldn't expect, something that would really hit home. Around noon, I made sure she was busy with her pregnancy stuff, then slipped out of the house. I went to the local cafe, sat in a corner, and fired off a carefully crafted email. It was from an anonymous account, but it sounded believable enough. I told her I knew everything about her secret meetings, her lies, her betrayal. I told her I had evidence, enough to ruin her reputation if I wanted. I was just giving her a chance to come clean, to tell the truth before I made everything public. I hit send and watched her reaction when she opened her laptop later that afternoon. Her eyes widened, her face drained of color as she read the message. Her hands trembled and she looked around like she wanted to disappear. I couldn't help but smile, cold, calculated satisfaction. This was just the beginning. While she was distracted, I devised my next move. I wanted her to think I was leaving her to stew in her guilt, but I also needed to keep her on her toes. I started planting more evidence around the house: hidden notes, small recordings, things I could use at the right moment. I kept her occupied with her pregnancy appointments and baby preparations, but I watched her every move. One thing I knew for certain: I had to confront her again face to face and really lay everything bare. I wasn't interested in yelling or screaming. What I wanted was her to see that I was serious, that I'd catch her every lie. So I scheduled a talk for the evening, just the two of us in the living room. I wanted her to think she had some control, that she could manipulate the situation. When she sat down across from me, face streaked with tears, I looked her straight in the eyes. "You thought I wouldn't find out. You thought you could keep this hidden forever. Well, I've got news for you. Everything's out in the open now." Her voice trembled as she tried to speak. "Please, I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I was just feeling lonely. Jake made me feel alive again. I swear I never wanted to hurt you. I clenched my fists, feeling the rage bubble up. Did you really think I'd buy that? You've been sneaking around for months, lying to my face. All the nights I thought you were with your mom or at some friend's house, turns out you were with Jake, behind my back. She looked like she was about to lose it. I didn't want you to know. It was stupid, I know. I felt trapped and Jake made me feel special. I didn't want to hurt you, but I lost myself. I shook my head slowly. You lost yourself. No, you lost respect, loyalty, honesty. You betrayed everything we built, and Jake, my best friend, you both played me for a fool. I reached into my pocket, pulling out the evidence I'd been collecting, screenshots, the fake email, everything. I placed it on the table between us. This is what I've been working on. And you know what? I'm not done. No, I've got a plan. And it's going to make you regret ever crossing me. Her eyes widened with a mixture of fear and disbelief. What are you going to do? I leaned forward, voice low but firm. You're going to see what betrayal really costs. I'm going to expose you, and I'll make damn sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. She looked like she wanted to scream or cry, but she couldn't. The weight of everything was crushing her. I saw her trembling, her face pale, her hands clenched into fists on her lap. I knew then that I was about to push the button on my revenge, something that would shake her to her core but wouldn't cross the line into cruelty. I was done being the victim. It was time she felt the cold, sharp edge of what she'd done. Next part. The moment I finished explaining my plan, I saw her shoulders slump, a look of defeat washing over her face. She knew I wasn't bluffing anymore. The last piece of her carefully constructed facade was crumbling, and I could feel a strange mix of satisfaction and fury simmering inside me. I told her I was going to confront Jake face to face, not just to scare him, but to make him realize the mess he'd helped create. I wanted him to understand exactly what he'd lost, his friendship with me, his integrity. I'd make sure he knew I knew everything, that I had proof, and that the only thing left to decide was how he was going to deal with the fallout. My plan was simple but brutal. I'd invite Jake over tomorrow afternoon. I'd pretend everything was okay, act friendly, even casual. But at the right moment, I'd reveal everything I knew right there in front of him. I wanted him to see that I wasn't the fool he thought I was, that I'd been watching, gathering, waiting. The night was a restless one. I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with possibilities. I kept replaying the moment I saw her with Jake last night. The way she looked at him, the way she touched him. She'd been so careless, so desperate to hide how much she wanted him. I felt the heat of betrayal burn deep in my chest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her lying on that couch, whispering sweet nothings to him. I stayed up late, plotting every detail. I bought a small recording device, nothing big or obvious, just enough to capture their conversation if they slipped up. I also made sure I was ready with all my evidence, screenshots, texts, everything consolidated in a neat folder on my phone. This was going to be the ultimate confrontation, to show her that I wasn't just going to take this lying down. The next day, I pretended everything was normal, but inside, I was on high alert. I kept my tone casual, acting as if nothing was wrong as I texted Jake to come over. When he arrived, I greeted him with a cold smile. "Thanks for coming," I said, voice even. "There's something I need to talk to you about." He looked surprised but nodded cautiously. "What's up?" I leaned in a little, keeping my voice low. "I know about everything, about you and Lisa. The messages, the meetings, all of it. I've got proof." I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots I'd prepared, making sure he saw every detail. His face went pale. "Look, man, I didn't mean. I don't want to hear your excuses." I interrupted. "You crossed a line. You lied, you betrayed me, and I want you to understand the full weight of what you did." He looked like he was about to speak again, but I cut him off. "No more. I'm done pretending. You're going to regret this, Jake." At that moment, I pulled out my hidden recording device and pressed play. It was their conversation from the night before, her voice, trembling, confessing her feelings, telling him she couldn't stay away. His response just as guilty. The sound filled the room, loud enough for him to hear, undeniable. Jake's face turned red. "Shit, man, I didn't mean for it to get this far." "Too late for that," I said coldly. "You both played me for a fool. I don't trust either of you anymore. And I swear I will make sure everyone knows what kind of people you really are." They were both silent, caught in the act. I knew this was just the start, but it was enough to make my point. I handed Jake a folded-up printout of all the evidence I'd collected. Consider this a warning. I'm not going to stand for this. And of betrayal, you both lost me. As Jake left, I watched him walk out feeling a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I'd done what I set out to do. I'd exposed the truth, hurt her in a way she couldn't deny, and made sure Jake understood he was no longer welcome in my life. Later that evening, I sat her down again. Her eyes looked hollow, her face pale. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I'd never know what you were up to?" I asked. She looked down, tears streaming again. "I was so stupid. I thought I could fix this, but I see now I was wrong." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything. "You chose to betray me, to lie to my face, and I won't let that go. I've decided I'm done. I want my keys and the divorce papers. I want you out of my life." Her eyes widened in shock, but she didn't argue. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the key to the house, and placed it on the table. Then I picked up the folder with all the evidence I'd gathered, sliding it into my bag. "Goodbye, Lisa," I said quietly. "I hope you realize what you've lost." As I walked out the door for good, I felt a strange sense of closure, like I'd finally taken back control. I'd been betrayed, yes, but I'd also reclaimed my dignity. And that was the only thing that mattered. Next part. The house felt colder as I left it behind that evening. I could still see her sitting there, eyes red and hollow, clutching her trembling hands. Honestly, I felt nothing but a strange relief. For months, I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was there. Now I was free from her lies, her betrayal, her secrets. It was like breathing fresh air after being trapped underwater. Driving away, my mind was a jumble of emotions: anger, sadness, a flicker of regret, but mostly a sense of clarity. I'd made the decision to end it all, and I knew I'd done the right thing. No more hiding, no more pretending. I was done playing the fool for her lies. When I got home, I took a moment in my empty place, feeling the silence settle around me. I packed the last of her things into a box carefully, deliberately, each item a reminder of what I'd lost, but also what I'd gained: my dignity. I placed the box by the door next to the keys I'd handed over earlier, then called a moving service. I wasn't going to keep anything that belonged to her or that tied me to that chapter of my life. I took a deep breath and finally sat down. I had a lot to process, but for now, I just let the silence wash over me. I didn't need to speak to her again, didn't need to hear any more lies. What I needed was space, the kind she had taken from me for far too long. Looking back, I realized betrayal isn't just about infidelity. It's about trust, respect, and the foundation of what makes a relationship work. When those are broken, everything else crumbles. I learned that the hard way. But I also learned something vital. Sometimes the only way to truly heal is to cut the poison out entirely. That night I sat on my new couch, alone but finally free. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. Instead, I felt a quiet sense of victory. I took a deep breath, and for the first time in months, I allowed myself to believe I could start over. The pain of betrayal will always stay with me, but I refuse to let it define me. I trust that in time, I'll find someone who values loyalty and honesty, that I'll rebuild what was broken, and I'll do it on my own terms. Because ultimately, I realize something crucial. You can't control others, but you can control how you respond. And walking away, standing tall and reclaiming what's yours, that's what true strength looks like. So here's my advice to anyone who's been betrayed like this: don't let it destroy you. Learn from it. Cut out what's toxic, no matter how hard it is. Respect yourself enough to walk away and start fresh. The only person responsible for your happiness is you. And trust me, you're stronger than you think.